Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, and today I wanted to talk about black women in the media and how their image is being ruined. So when I think of representation for black women in the media, nothing positive comes to mind. I usually think of very vulgar women like Sexy Red and Suki Hana, the City Girls. I think of those types of people, and those women are not a good rep for black women. And what I mean by black women in the media, I'm not just talking about the music industry. I'm talking about anything that you see on your phone, on social media, anything that has to do with black women. Hollywood, movies, TV shows, or just black women in general. A lot of the things that you see are negative, and it's usually videos of black women fighting, or black women arguing, or a black woman getting beaten up, or a black woman beating someone up. Those are usually the things that come to my mind when I think of black women in the media. I don't think black women understand how important representation is when we're in the media. It puts an image into people's minds on how those people look and how those people act. Representation also creates desirability. If you look at the type of representation that black women get in the media, as in the music industry, the acting industry, when it comes to the music industry, black women are usually shown as more vulgar, more hypersexual. It's not desirable and it's not attractive at all. They're usually seen as more ghetto and ratchet, whereas in movies, they're usually shown as overweight, not attractive, and they also play into the ratchet and ghetto stereotype. So if that's what you're constantly being shown, and if that's what you're taking in, of course it's going to put an image in your mind that black women are loud and unattractive and ghetto, and all of the negative stereotypes that black women have. That is where it comes from. It comes from what you see in the media, and it doesn't just go for black women, it goes for every other group of people out there. So this kind of links into what I wanted to talk about, another topic which I wanted to talk about, which is, are black women really undesirable? Just to quickly add to this, I genuinely do not believe that black women are the least desirable. I do not believe that at all. There's no way that black women, no offense, but there is no way that black women are the least desired compared to like Indian women or the Southeast or South Asian women like India and Bengali. I don't believe that one bit. And I think it's, first of all, that whole chart or whatever it was, that was a long time ago, it was years ago. But I think it's because Indian women and all of them, they're all Asian. So they get grouped under Asian. When people say that Asian women are more desirable, they're talking about Japanese and Korean or Chinese or even Thai, Philippines. Those are the type of Asian women that they're talking about, not Indian. But it's just the fact that because India is in Asia, they also get grouped in with them, which is why I do not believe that black women are the least desirable. I genuinely think that's all bullshit. Like I said, desirability also has to do with what you see in the media. So, for example, we know that white people are more seen as desired because they set that standard. When they're in Hollywood, they don't play negative roles that are ghetto and unattractive. When white women are played in Hollywood, they don't play unattractive roles. They don't put unattractive white women in Hollywood. They usually put the best looking ones because they want to uphold that standard, to put the idea into people's head that white women are the most attractive. And I've said this in a video before that I've made, which was about the how the media likes to set up black women. They're not gonna put an average white woman as an actress in Hollywood. They're not gonna put an overweight white woman in Hollywood because, like I said, they like to uphold a certain standard. So whenever they do pick white women in Hollywood, they pick the best looking ones as their representation. They've got women like Catherine Jones, Margot Robbie, Natalie Portman, Angelina Jolie. They have so many women in Hollywood that represent them. They don't get shitty representation like black women do because, like I said, they want to uphold the standard. White people control their own media, so they're not going to pick an unattractive white person. They pick the ones that are more attractive to set the standards for themselves. Even when it comes to Hispanic women in Hollywood, they pick a certain demographic. You've got Afro Latinas, they don't pick them. They've got the more indigenous ones, they don't pick them. They pick the more European looking ones. They pick women like Salma Hayek, Sofia Vergara, Eva Mendes, Jessica Alba. that is the type of representation that they have, which is why Latinas are seen as more desirable, because that's the type of representation that they get. When people think of Latinas, those are the type of women that they think of. They are attractive women. So that's what automatically comes into people's minds. You have people that don't even come from countries that have Latinas, yet people say that they like Latinas, but there are no Latinas in their country. But they go by what they see. Whereas black women, I can't even think of, a good variety of black women that are up there like that, on the same level as them, that are good looking. Maybe in the 90s we had loads. In the 90s we had so many black female actresses that were beautiful, that were the most desired and had men at their feet. Whereas now we don't have that. We've gone completely backwards. In the 90s we had Nia Long, Robin Givens, Lynn Whitfield. We had so many. Whereas now we don't have that at all. We honestly have the worst representation now. And it's because we don't control our own media. And don't get me wrong, there are many beautiful black women in Hollywood and in the film industry that are so attractive, but it's just that they're not being pushed as much as they should. They're more like the unknown actresses, or they haven't really taken off as much as they should have, or as much as other races of actresses have. Okay, so now I wanted to give an example of how much of an impact representation has. And I feel like a very, very good example of this would be K-pop. Over the past few years, K-pop and anything that has to do with South Korea has become so mainstream to the point that it's everywhere. Everywhere you go, you hear K-pop, you hear people talking about K-pop, or you hear people talk about K-drama. And I feel like this is a very good example to use when it comes to representation. So before K-pop and before K-dramas, when it comes down to Asian men, I feel like no one really used to pay attention to Asian men. You know how people would say, oh, well, Asian men are the least desired because of all of these negative stereotypes that they have, which is that they're too feminine and that they're not masculine enough. So Asian men weren't really being picked as much as other races of men. And now that K-pop has come along, it's just completely changed the way people see Asian men, especially Korean men. More and more women of all different races and ethnic groups are starting to pay attention to Asian men, especially Korean men. And whenever you hear people talk about Asian men or Korean men, they always mention K-pop. And the reason why people are so obsessed with K-pop is because Asian men are being shown in a different light. Like I said, Asian men had the stereotype of, well, when I say Asian, I'm mostly talking about East Asian men, more specifically like Japanese, Korean. They were more seen as feminine and not masculine enough. And when women want men, they want a man that's masculine. And the only reason why Asian men had that stereotype was because of how Westerners would portray them in Hollywood movies. They wouldn't really give them roles that would make them look masculine. So people just had the perception that Asian men were too feminine. So as soon as Asian men started to take control of their own media, they started to put themselves in a different light. That's when they started to come up with K-pop and their music industry and their film industry. They started to portray themselves in a different light, where they were more masculine and seen as more desirable and more attractive. And clearly it's worked, because so many women are starting to like Asian men more and more. When I was younger, no one really used to mention Asian men, whereas now so many women, especially black women, are starting to like Asian men, and that's because of the representation that they now have. So now I wanted to kind of compare the representation that Asian men now have, now that they finally changed it, to black women, and the issue that black women have when it comes to representation. Like I was saying in the beginning when I first started this video, the representation that black women have is terrible. So bad, it's horrible. And I know that there's black women worldwide, Europe, Africa, the Caribbean, America, but the main representation that black women get is in America. And whenever people see the representation that black people as a whole have in America, they connect that to black women or black people all around, whether you're from Europe or Africa. Like I said, it doesn't matter. If you're black, you're black. So you get grouped in all as one. And whenever we see black women in the media, or whenever I see black women in the media, it's always the same repetitive and degenerate behavior that we are constantly seeing. It's always black women twerking or over-sexualizing themselves or wearing revealing clothes or just not carrying themselves properly or being feminine. And whenever I see black women in the media and I compare it to what I see in real life, it's like two completely different things. Like I said, I'm from Europe. I live in a European country. And I don't see black women twerk 24/7 and wear revealing clothes. But whenever you see things in the media, it puts an image in your mind and makes you think that that is how those people act. So whenever non-black people or people that come from countries where there are no black people, whenever they see that, that's the type of image that they get. That all black women are hypersexual, they all twerk and they're just not feminine enough because of what they see. And that's why it's so toxic for black women. And I honestly just feel like all of this is just getting worse and worse over time. Even now, because of social media, we see so many of these degenerate videos of black women willingly putting themselves on these smash or pause videos, and there's videos of them being fingered on those, like, just disgusting. It's just a bunch of bird brain black women that are setting other black women up by them being degenerates and putting themselves on these videos. They're wearing revealing clothes or they're not dressing properly, the style that they go for, the way that they carry themselves. And whenever you get a bad batch of black women, people always group all of us as one. The same way people stereotype black women as, loud, ghetto, and ratchet because of a small group, as if every other group don't do the same thing. All black women get grouped in as the same. And this is all being done on purpose. As we know, the media already doesn't like black women. They have this very strong and one-sided beef with black women where they like to represent them or put them in a very negative light, whether it's the music industry or the acting industry, the film industry. When it comes to the film industry, they usually give black women certain roles where they're portrayed as loud or ratchet, or they're always like the side character. They're never in the main lead, and they never pick attractive black female actresses to play in Hollywood movies. They always use the below average ones. And like I said, every group of women or people have attractive and non-attractive people, like I said before. But whenever they do use other groups of women in Hollywood, they always make sure that they're the most attractive women. Whereas when it comes to black women, they always use mediocre black women to represent us. They never use the ones that are like 10 out of 10 that they could be using. They choose not to. And whenever it comes to the music industry, it's 10 times worse. They never pick black women that actually have talent and can sing and can dance to be put out there. But they put people like Suki Hana and Sexy Red. Those are the people that they push, and it's being pushed on purpose to portray black women in a negative light. It's being done on purpose. And I compare it to the issue that Asian men have when they were being put in a feminine light because of the Hollywood standards that they had, and they took control of their own media, and now look, it's changed completely. So black women need to start taking control of their own media and changing things, because that's the only way things are going to change. Anytime I'm on social media and if there's a video of a black girl or a black woman, it's always the same repetitive thing. It's always a fight, her arguing, or her playing into the stereotypical angry black woman. It's just the same repetitive thing over and over again. I'm so sick and tired of seeing it.
Hey, don't put that on tonight.
I'm testing you all day.
I'm checking your pressure. What's up?
Stop checking my pressure. Stop touching me and move the back. Now I'm being pissed the off. Yes, a bitch will swing. I will knock you the out.
to get my coochie scratched. I'm trying to get my coochie stretched and eat a nigga ass. We be eating niggas ass today in London. Period, baby. I'm trying to get this coochie scratched.
What's up?
Hello.
What it is, a little BBL or something?
Nah, baby, it's
Is it
natural.
real?
Yeah.
Let me see, make it do something real quick. That's what's happening. Round of applause, that's it right there. You good. Let's do it. She good.
She good, that's why a bitch stay pregnant. I swallow now, I really feel like an elephant. Tell Joe Biden I wanna suck on the president. Real niggas love wretched bitches. Y'all ain't killing my man, so I'm winning. I want a hood nigga. I want a hood nigga. I want a hood nigga. I want a trap nigga.
I want some liquor! Get him out, get out. Yeah.
You my favorite. I'm so fucking sexy.
Out of all the bitches that you don't smell in here, would you suck the out my?
Get this bitch.
No, you must see how you feel.
Get this queen out of here, man.
What?
Get this queen.
What you mean?
Just looking at all of this stuff is honestly so sickening, and it really makes me angry and winds me up. It's just the fact that why is this constantly being put on social media? Why is this being black women's representation that they get, and why do some black women entertain it? They come up with a bunch of excuses to entertain this type of behavior, like, oh well, support black women and whatever. They only like to use that support black women excuse when it comes to degeneracy, because when it comes to black women that are actually being put in a positive light and are used as good examples of representation, they choose to turn a blind eye to them and they don't want to support them. They only like to support this type of degeneracy, and that's why it keeps growing and growing, and I'm so sick of it. And I'm not gonna lie, if I came from a country where there were no black people and I saw this on social media 24/7, I would also think the same thing, that black women are loud and ratchet and ghetto, and that all they do is twerk, because that's all you constantly see on social media. And like I said, representation is so important because it puts an image of how people act in your minds. So if this is what you're constantly seeing and being shown, of course you're gonna think that those people act like that. And even though all of this bullshit is so frustrating because it's ruining black women's image, it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't matter where you are, because most of this takes place in the US, but it still ruins black women's image worldwide because black people get grouped in all as one. It doesn't matter where you come from. But black women still choose to entertain this type of behavior by listening to their music, by following them and supporting them. And when they do that, they're just giving that person more popularity by doing things like that. So you can't just get upset with the artist, you always have to get upset with black women as well, because a lot of them support this type of behavior. And even when some people come out and say, oh well, she's ruining black women's image, a certain demographic of black women say, oh well, it's not that deep, it's not that serious, just have some fun. Or, oh, you guys always want to come for black women, you guys always want to attack black women. And it's like, do you not realize what is going on around you? It's like some people aren't woke enough to understand what is going on around them. They're just very slow. They just don't like to pay attention to what's going on around them. And it's very irritating because, like I was saying, they choose to support black women like that, but then when they see black women being put in a positive light, they kind of push them away and tell them that they're not black enough, or they're too quote-unquote whitewashed, or, oh, it's not realistic for black women standards, like the whole black women in luxury. I love that because it's black women being put in a positive light. But you had a certain demographic of black women that were getting upset with that and saying, oh, it's not accurate, because they're so used to seeing black women struggle and being put in negative positions, that when they're seeing black women being put in positive positions, they're saying it's not accurate and they choose not to support them. But it's very funny how a certain demographic of black people equate being ghetto and ratchet to being black, whereas when they see black women that are from the suburbs or from a nice upbringing, or they live well, they have money, they're living well, they're doing very well for themselves, they tell them that they're not black enough, or that they're too whitewashed, and they don't like to pay attention to them because they feel like they have no connection. Whereas when they see women like Sukihana and Sexy Red and all of those degenerates, they feel some type of connection, which is why they're so quick to support them, because a lot of them come from the same background, they come from the same upbringing, they feel connected with them in some type of way. But what I want is for black women to stop supporting women like this, and I know it's probably never going to happen, but I really want them to stop, because they don't realize that their image is being ruined completely, and they're the ones that are entertaining it, but they don't realize that. And like I said, every community, every group of people have degenerates, but it just feels like black people are the main groups that have degenerates that just don't know what's going on around them and choose to support the idiots instead of realizing what's going on around them. But if you guys enjoyed watching this video, please like and subscribe and let me know your opinions down in the comments below. I'll see you guys in the next video.